Disclaimer. Welcome to Two Cops, One Donut podcast. The views and opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Two Cops, One Donut, its host, or affiliates. The podcast is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. We do not endorse any guests' opinions or actions discussed during the show. Any content provided by guests is of their own volition, and listeners are encouraged to form their own opinions. Furthermore, some content is graphic and has harsh language. Viewer discretion advised and is intended for mature audiences. Two Cops, One Donut and its host do not accept any liability for statements or actions taken by guests. Thank you for listening. All right, welcome back. I'm your host, Eric Levine. This is Two Cops, One Donut, and my special guest today is Jeff Kunins from Axon. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing awesome. It's so wonderful to be here, Sergeant. Great to see you today. Thanks for the invite.
No problem. I've actually been around Axon quite a bit over the last few months. We actually went out and filmed a proof of concept, if you will, called Tech and Order. It's a show where basically me as a law enforcement officer, a current law enforcement officer, and a couple of my buddies, we wanted to show tech in a different way. Cops hate to be pitched to. You know, they don't want you to sell them something. They want you to prove something. And they really only listen to each other when it comes to the gear that they're going to be using when they're out there. You know what I mean?
As it should be.
Yes. And so being in the space, being a part of the National Real-Time Crime Center Association, I started to notice. I was like, you know what? Like, there's a niche here that is not being filled, and I wanted to try to do something different in a different way that we've been doing for years. We talk about gear all the time, and you know how it is. It's that word of mouth. We start talking, and everybody knows Axon. So how do you show off Axon in a new way? Well, shoot, we just brought it to the source, and then we said, hey, we want to kind of do like a Mythbusters meets Dude Perfect meets Top Gear. That was kind of the vibe we were going for. And so we came out.
Vibe.
It's a great vibe. And I think we kind of hit it with y'all out at Axon headquarters. And it just opened up this relationship. And now we're talking about all sorts of things with Axon. And one of that led to this path with getting you on here. Because I don't know about you personally, but are you going to be out at IACP in Denver this year?
So it's funny. I'm embarrassed to say that this particular year will be the first IACP I've personally missed since joining Axon 6 years ago. We were talking before the segment. My middle son is a senior in high school and is in sort of the final home stretch of college application stuff, including he's trying to apply to the Air Force Academy and some other things. And I'm kind of on duty in those last home stretch, trying to make sure he's got everything dialed in and helping him sprint to the finish line. But I have been to every other IACP since I started, and I will be back again starting next year. But regardless of me, it's certainly not about me. It's about the company and showing up for our customers, for agencies, and for everybody. And it's going to be an incredible show. Axon's theme for 2025 at IACP is own the moment from call to closure. And that's because, like you were saying, whether it's talking about gear and all that gear, technology, all of that's just a means to an end. The end is you being out there putting your lives on the line, incredibly, sacred duty job. And, public safety it's defined by moments. When something goes wrong somewhere and someone has to respond and help do the right thing to address that thing. And, for decades, whether it's our technology or someone else's technology, all of the innovation in public safety, and certainly all of Axon's mission since Rick founded the company over 30 years ago, has been doing everything we can from where we sit to help close that gap bit by bit by bit. From radios to body-worn cameras to real-time video, and now into the whole world of real-time crime centers and drone as first responder and everything else in between. And in particular, with the advancements in AI, combining that with technologies like live streaming and connecting it all together with things like real-time crime centers, presence for first responders is not entirely limited anymore by their physical proximity in that exact moment. and more people and more resources can be brought to bear faster to that call to closure. And that is, that's our dedication. That's like what I technologist and what my team does as technologists, to do our small part of empowering you to get done what you're out there trying to do for our communities. And that's just to make it a little bit easier every day for you, your job of reducing risk, improving outcomes, and strengthening trust.
Okay, so for dummies like me, first and
Yeah.
foremost, one thing I really love about your mentality, it isn't just your mentality, it's kind of everything I've seen with Axon. Family first. Like, I love that you are taking time
Mhm.
away for something very important in your family life. I don't think enough law enforcement officers do that these days, and I encourage them to model after that mindset. I love that. I try to do that myself. So kudos to you. Way to take the family first. So you won't get any gripes and complaints about not being there from me. So that's a worthy cause, sir. So
But I'll catch you next time.
yes, absolutely. But, real quick, what exactly is a technologist? So are you the nerd behind making all the cool stuff?
Yeah, so I have the honor and privilege to be the chief product and chief technology officer for Axon, and that just means all the bad stuff's my fault, and all the good stuff is my team's credit. I get to look after, Axon. We work on so many different things, but at this point, the whole company is around 5,000 ish people, and within that, about 2,000 ish of that is R&D across all of our hardware and software product lines around the world. So, which basically means my real job is taking the infinite innovative idea generation machine of our illustrious founder Rick Smith, and figuring out how to catch as many of those balls as humanly possible, and then actually build and deliver and operate those things for our customers around the
I'm
world.
waiting for sharks with laser beams attached to their freaking
That
heads. Is that coming?
Trust me, I probably, no announcements today, but
Yeah.
at some point.
I think Rick can make that happen. I think he could. I think well, instead of laser beams, more tasers,
Tasers, that's
taser
sharks with
sharks.
tasers. There
Yeah.
you go.
It could be
By the way, the name of your podcast, which of course is awesome. I don't know if you were at Axon Week at our event in the spring, but we always do fun. We for a couple of years we did an ice cream shop, for people on snacks, that was called
mhm.
Freeze, themed. And then this year
Yep.
we did have Don't Glaze Me, Bro, the donut
Yes.
stand. So
It's
that
funny
was
you
pretty
say
fun.
that because when we had Mike was on the, tech and
Oh
order
yeah,
proof concept that we did, and he wore
yeah,
the "Don't Tase Me, Bro" shirt.
yes, yes. So
So awesome.
always a little humor to try to just move the ball forward.
Yes. Okay, so let me nerd out a little bit. One of the things that I'm always trying to find out is, like okay, so for those listening, IACP is like when Apple releases the iPhone. Yeah, or they're all their stuff for the year that they're gonna talk about. That's what IACP is for police stuff. So if you're listening to this, one of the things that nerdy cops like me get excited about is what these, well-known companies. Axon's the top dog, and I want to know what they're going to come out with. So at this IACP, this podcast you and I are doing, we're going to kind of release this a little earlier than IACP. Is there any hype stuff that you can kind of release yet that maybe we can tell people?
No sort of premature official announcements, but I would say some stuff that we announced very, very recently, that is probably new to a bunch of people. That's very relevant. I think we're incredibly excited about. And first and foremost, we announced just a couple weeks ago that we have acquired, and that means we're adding to the Axon team. An incredibly exciting startup company that will now be part of Axon, called Prepared 911. And what's exciting about Prepared, other companies that are doing similar things, and like with everything, we run an ecosystem. And so even as we make Prepared part of the Axon family, we absolutely want, and especially with every other company that is working on similar technology, because different agencies will choose different providers as always. But Prepared in particular in this category is really about transforming how both dispatchers and responders get to receive and act on information in those first crucial seconds of a 911 call, and really when a bad thing starts to happen. And fundamentally, as both you and your audience know intimately well, that's sort of that, whether you sort of like to call it the first 120 seconds or whatever it is, a bad thing starts to unfold, whatever that thing happens to be. Some amount of time elapses. Then someone calls 911. Then that call has to get answered in the PSAP by an incredibly hardworking call taker. Then that call taker has to interpret and write down what's going on and get that into CAD and over to a dispatcher, often another human or at least a different human in that moment. And then that dispatcher has to get that information in. And then ultimately, through a combination of CAD and the radio, that gets an actual specific officer dispatched to that scene. And then they have to parse and page into their head all of that information while they are en route, and then they ultimately get there. And of course, we all want that both to happen as quickly as possible and with as much context and information as possible. And what Prepared does, and ties right in to Fusus and Drone as First Responder and a bunch of other real-time capabilities that Axon already had that we're incredibly excited about, is that Prepared radically accelerates and adds better context to some of those very first steps. So what Prepared does is, if I am an agency that has Prepared set up in my PSAP or even just tied into my Fusus installation, then the moment that 911 call comes in, even while the call taker is still processing that, a couple of things happen. Number one, just to make that call taker's job easier, right there on their screen, Prepared can show a real-time translation of the call as it's coming in, which can actually just help them gut check what they're hearing and go faster. It also can help a lot with calls from non-English as a first language 911 callers and help greatly expedite the reliance on non-English lines that often have much higher call hold times. And it also produces a AI summary of that transcript in real time as the call's unfolding, which can further improve the speed and quality of that call taker getting that information into CAD. Now, in parallel with that, and not waiting for it to make its way all the way to dispatch, is the instant that 911 call starts, that exact same audio recording of the call as it happens, the transcript of the call as it happens, and the AI summary of the call as it happens gets fed out as an integration into the real-time crime center with something like Fusus, which means right in the real-time crime center, right as 911 calls are happening, they can see those things pop up and they can have rules and workflows and whatever makes the most sense for that agency in that context. But they can do things like get a drone up in the air within seconds if it looks like it's a serious call, even before it ever makes its way to dispatch, and a whole variety of other things. And then, ultimately, we'll be able to build this into things like the Axon Assistant. So if you're an officer, once you're dispatched and you're on your way, of course, you've got your MDT and you can look at it in CAD and the like, but imagine you probably want to be able to hands-free, eyes-free, ask the microphone in your body camera, hey, can you summarize that call to me that I'm en route to? And that can be another way where you can move faster and be better prepared as you actually get there to be on scene. And that's what Prepared is all about, together with the rest of the capability of the Axon ecosystem.
Yeah, I could see a huge benefit to that in the real-time crime center world as well, since that's where I work, and knowing that I can start scrubbing calls immediately, and with the DFR programs that are
Exactly.
available now, imagine getting the drone up before the officer's even officially been dispatched to the call. Now we can get eyes.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm seeing why you guys themed it, about owning the moment, because yeah, you guys right there alone, you're already cutting the time immensely. That's a huge cut. That's not even like a statistical significant number. That is like, or insignificant number. I couldn't even say the word. That is a significant number that could be measured immediately. And so I think that's huge. I
For
think that's
sure. And another, like agencies like, I think Miami Beach has, put out some good statistics on this with their own RTIC, program. They have like, I think over 16 cameras in their network. And, prior to putting Fusus in place and prior to their DFR program, they theoretically had those assets, but they didn't actually work together in the right way. And, Rick and some of my colleagues make fun of me a lot because I do say the word actually a lot, because I think that's very relevant to our mission and what we do here for law enforcement, which is easy to talk about. There's this technology here, or this piece of gear over there, or this, thing over there. But until that translates into what's actually transpiring, actually on the ground in real incidents to produce real outcomes, like, it's cute, but it doesn't matter. And so that focus on actual practical real world impact from the things that we build is what I focus on. It's what my team focuses on. And so, like Miami Beach, they strive incredibly hard and in general have an incredible 2-minute average response time. And one of the key ways they're able to meet and maintain that and actually grow quality of response while they maintain that overall level of speed of response is by the huge investment they've made in a highly functioning RTIC, as well as a DFR program.
I love it. I love it. I think so I'm over here reading one of my notes that I wanted to make sure I talked about, and you just hit it before I could ask it. So yes, I think that's a great program. It's very cool that you guys are getting integrated with that. I could see a huge advantage on like mixing that with Fusus. Obviously, you got your integrated cameras and mapping system, and just being again nerd side of me looking at. For those listening that may not know what we're talking about, it's a mapping system that shows where all the cameras in the city are at, where the officers' locations are at. If there's a citizen live going on, you can see where that's at. So these all really cool features with
Mhm.
Axon Fusus. And this is just one more accessory, if you will, that's going to cut the time down. So that's very
That's
cool.
right.
So people can come see that.
Another
I was going to say, yeah. What else can they see?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was going to say another announcement that we just made very, very recently. Actually, showcased a little bit at the RTCC event that you were part of a couple weeks ago for the association. Is the launch of a exciting partnership with Ring, and Ring, doorbell cameras out in the
Yeah.
community. And so, for a long time, Ring, in their early days, they actually had a program where, community members who owned Ring doorbell cameras and police agencies in that area could choose to basically enable sharing of information so that an officer investigating a crime could basically put out a community request like thing. And unfortunately, it got some bad press at the time, mostly due to unfair and sort of inaccurate assumptions about how it worked. But also, it was a separate system from like Axon evidence and the thing. So it did have some gaps on stuff like chain of custody and just visibility for officers in their workflow. And we were thrilled to announce earlier this year and then announce that we shipped it and it's now on just a couple weeks ago, a new envisioning of that program that we're super excited about its capability to, again, drive better outcomes and help own the moment. And so, in particular, now built right into Axon evidence and the community request, which is the exact same place an officer or detective would go to, say, request evidence from an individual person who was a witness to an incident, or take your pick, or create a portal to post on their social media. Now, right in that same place, they can also select to get feedback from Ring camera owners in their area. And by appropriately filling out, this is what the CGIS code is of the incident and all of the things for transparency, and keeping the audit trail there. That request then securely goes to Ring. Ring will then send a notification to all Ring camera owners within a nice little radius of where that incident occurred, if they didn't opt out. And if they opted out, they'll never see those notifications. And when I received that notification as a homeowner, it says, hey, Seattle PD, I happen to live in Seattle, is investigating a burglary that was, 3 blocks away from your house. If you happen to have any footage and you can help us out, we would appreciate that. And then I can go search my Ring, camera clips. And if I have anything useful, I just press a button and boom, that evidence is securely sent right into Axon evidence. So there's no break in chain of custody. It's completely smooth for everybody on both sides. And there's a public transparency portal where the public can see, hey, this is how often this capability is being used. This is the class of investigations that it's being used for. So they can be confident that it's being used in a way to help the community and everybody wins.
I love that. That is that's a very cool partnership. And law enforcement's been using Ring. They have these agreements, and
Mhm.
just like you said, the transparency. You just allow people the option. If it's not that we can just automatically grab your video feed or anything like that. We have to make a
Of course.
request and stuff like that. So just to kind of put people's mind at ease that the police aren't just jumping on looking at your camera system. It doesn't work that way. You are in control the
Absolutely.
whole time. And I think that's the community relationship where you build the trust and do all that. And knowing that Axon's getting behind it because everybody wants people to have body cams. Everybody wants people to have less lethal options as police officers. So they love having tasers. I think they're going to love hearing that you and
That's
Ring
right.
are getting together because it's going
We're
to
we're
add a
excited
level of
about it.
trust with, yeah, I think it'll add a level of trust. So, yeah, thanks. You're helping us out. Appreciate it. Helping us catch bad guys.
Try it.
Um,
And then maybe the last, again, thing that we're incredibly excited and people can see loud and clear at IACP, but just in general, we announced earlier this year what we call the Axon Assistant. And again, I myself, in my own career prior to Axon, I spent time at a startup many years ago that if there was a direct ancestor to today's modern voice assistants, this startup was very much a progenitor of a lot of that technology and a lot of those ideas. And then I also spent some time working on Alexa at Amazon before coming to Axon. So, when I first joined, Rick was like, "Hey, we have to do a voice assistant built into body cameras." And at the time, I was actually quite resistant because I knew that the tech really wasn't quite ready yet to, here's that word again, to actually do a good job for our customers. It was a great idea, but it just wasn't time yet. But now it is time, and the combination of the latest advances in LLMs and all the AI stuff you hear people talking about, together with the fact that so many officers not only have our body cameras, but they have that cellular LTE chip, activated, so it has access to the network. It's connected
yep.
into live streaming and all those other things. And so with the Axon Assistant, the most powerful first skill or capability that we've been testing with a bunch of agencies over the last 6 months and is now just growing like gangbusters is language translation. And so what's beautiful is that language translation itself is a capability that's in a lot of places now. You can put it in an app on your phone, you can have it in a lot of stuff. But as an officer in the field, the fact that it is built right in, hands free and eyes free, to the body camera that you're already wearing, and can seamlessly act as a human activator intermediary between you and a member of the public that doesn't speak the same language that you do. And it facilitates without you needing to wait for a human translator, without you needing to try to pantomime your way through an interaction. And it's just we're incredibly gratified by the enthusiasm and real world results that it's already producing. One actually exciting and a little bit scary, but incredibly gratified that this helped. Bernalillo, sheriff's office, posted this on Instagram a number of weeks ago. But there was a pretty scary incident of a gentleman who was like, stripped to the waist and sort of looked, frankly, to a innocent bystander like kind of a scary individual, perhaps. And they had jumped into a UPS truck and basically threatened, or not threatened, but really aggressively pushed the driver to help him flee a situation. And even when cops started chasing them, he was, belligerently, avoiding, being apprehended. And then ultimately, when he was apprehended, like this could have easily gone a very bad day way for everybody involved. And he didn't speak English, but thankfully they used the Axon Assistant. It turned out the gentleman happened to only speak Russian, and he was saying, and this is right, like you can see the video right on Instagram, that he had been poisoned and that he was fleeing a situation for his own safety. And so who knows what will happen ultimately with the person's case, but because they were able to use Assistant and communicate effectively with this individual in that high stress situation, everybody went home without anything violent happening. And now this person gets to be, assessed properly, in the justice system, and things will work out the way they should work out. But no, and that, very gratified to say, was directly, at least in part, due to the help that the Axon Assistant provided for that real-time language translation.
That's gonna be great. I can't wait for that, especially being a border state. I work in Texas, so
Hmm.
for me, Spanish speaking, I can get by a little bit. I can't speak it worth a crap, but I can understand some of it. But man, it like you said, it that language barrier, it slows things down. It can make things more dangerous, because we misinterpret body language due to
That's right.
cultural differences and things like that. And I think that will be. Actually, I did get to mess with it a little bit when we did the tech and order thing with y'all, and we were having a blast with it. Just because all
Good,
we knew
good.
was inappropriate words anyway. So we were
Yes.
using it. Cops gonna do cop things, so we were doing cop
Yeah.
things with it. And I
It's
think
it's
that.
actually it's
Go
actually
ahead.
funny that we were doing some testing and have even outside of the U.S. and I think it was in Iceland, and so having it like do translation like from Icelandic to German, or like Icelandic to French, and
Yeah.
back again. Which when you're an English speaking person, it's can be a bit comedic. But again, it's
Yeah.
not comedy in the real world. It's about helping own the moment and help
Yes.
produce better outcomes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that if anybody gets a chance to stop out, and you're going to go to IACP, make sure you stop by that booth and check that. I'll be over there. I'm going to go check that stuff out. But sir, I know you got limited time. Is there anything else that you wanted to hit on before we go? Is there anything we're missing?
I mean, yeah, no, I think maybe two last really quick things. One
Okay.
last thing on the again cool stuff to look at is again also earlier this year we announced it was coming, and now we're very very excited to have it live with our first sets of agencies and barreling towards being generally available is Outpost and Lightpost, which is Axon first dedicated vehicle intelligence cameras and end-to-end capabilities to go on polls in communities to again just help. And now again, obviously, there's a lot of discussion, in agencies and in communities about vehicle intelligence. And I think fundamentally that's where our focus on community and our focus on ethical and responsible innovation and partnership with our agencies really comes to the fore. We really believe that there's incredible power in the partnership between tech, our customers and agencies, and the communities. And so all the programs that we do, all the collaboration we do with our independent third party EEAC, and all of the listening we do with chiefs, with officers on the ground, et cetera, to try to craft policies that allow you to have the most power to get your job done with the right set of capabilities that you can stand behind when you're having those challenging conversations with your community. And we're really, really eager and excited to be bringing things to bear to help just keep moving that ball forward for you. And then I think the last thing to say is again, we're just going to keep on accelerating this. Ecosystem is a cute word if it's just a word, but again, to come back to my point about saying actually a lot, an ecosystem is only an ecosystem when it actually involves all of the technology choices that you might make, whether it's from us and whether it's from any of the other vendors that you happen to choose stuff from, work together in seamless and interoperable ways. And no one is more dedicated than we are to making sure that we walk the walk and talk the talk that goes along with that to help make sure that you have freedom of choice and you have the most flexibility to put together the assemblage of solutions that make the most sense for you. And that's our commitment, and that's what we stand for. So we're here to serve you as you serve.
I love it. I love it. And I want people like this is something that citizens you can get involved with too. When you hear about this tech, I don't want you to sit here and go, "Oh man, like do we have this?" Find out. Get a hold of your agency. If this is something you want your officers to have, your voice is stronger than mine is as a cop. Like if the citizens like, we need to have this. Think about body cameras. Everybody, so every citizen pushed for that, and you made it happen because I think officers were more resistant to that than anybody at the time because it was different. It was a cultural abnormality. We weren't used to that. And now look at you talk to any cop, they won't leave the office without it. They feel naked. They're like, "Oh my god, where's my camera?" Like they'll panic. I've done it. I left the office and forgot it's on the charger. So I love that. And I want people to, when you're listening to this stuff and you're hearing about this tech, do your homework. Look at exactly what he talked about. There's going to be reviews about it. They're going to see all this stuff online. Go check this stuff out. And you're hearing it from Jeff, who is one of the people that helps make it so and brings it to reality. So you're not hearing it from a cop. You're not hearing it from, the owner. You're hearing it from somebody that just has a passion for the tech. And I think that's an important message to hear. And you'll be able to come check it out at IACP, which is what I plan to do. So, Jeff, you got anything else, sir? If you don't,
No, I'm good. Thank you so much for the time, Sergeant.
yes,
It's really wonderful to meet you. Once again, I do love your shirt, and
thank you.
I hope to get to see you in person sometime soon.
Excellent. Very. We will definitely get together, maybe over a beer. And we'll
Sounds
say,
good.
hey, let's see what's going on. Everybody, thanks for listening. Make sure you guys check out Axon at IACP this year in Denver, Colorado, on I think it's like the 19th through the 22nd,
Hmm.
something to that
Hmm.
effect. Yeah, stop by the booth. I'll be around. Come see me. Say hello, and let's nerd talk. Let's talk about all this new tech stuff. So, thank you, Jeff. Everybody, have a
Awesome.
good night. Take it
Thank you,
easy.
Sergeant. Have a great day. Cheers.